Penn State Wrestling makes history once again. For the third consecutive season, they have broken the NCAA points record. They crown 4 NCAA champs. Let's recap the season, break it all down here on Locked On Nittany Lions.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
My name is Zach Sako, and welcome into a live edition of Locked On Nittany Lions as we are recapping all of it, the NCAA finals, Penn State Wrestling breaking the points record that they have now set 3 years in a row. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. It's bittersweet, right? The NCAA wrestling season's over. And just like that, this flies by so fast. But Penn State sets the scoring record again. It is now 181.5. They get 4 NCAA champs when really, I thought they could have had more. I really thought they could have gone 6 for 6. No surprise there with Max McAnally and Rocco Welsh. That was truly a toss-up. Could have gone either way. And lo and behold, Rocco doesn't really get to his offense. Max McAnally stays aggressive early on and sets the tone and gets the takedown. And that's kind of what I was expecting to happen there. But Shane Van Ness gets upset by Aiden Valencia. Hey, let's talk about it here. I do want to start with the record itself, and then we'll criticize and scrutinize where it is due there. But four individual champions. We're also going to talk about Oklahoma State. Don't you worry. Oklahoma State is going to get attention in this show as well. So welcome everybody, Penn State fans, Oklahoma State fans, anybody joining us here. Congrats to Luke Lilledahl, Mitchell Mesenbrink, Levi, Haines, and Josh Barr. Whether it was based on matchup or just how these wrestlers were operating at a high level this season, those were the guys that were definitely in the best spot to win an NCAA title this season. I want to start with Levi, Haines, and Mitchell Mesenbrink first and kind of go in the order that they went for the broadcast. So Mitchell Mesenbrink, Levi, Haines, Josh Barr, and then we'll finish up with Luke Lilledahl because I was unimpressed by that matchup, but that's not exactly Luke's fault. Starting with Mitchell Mesenbrink, though, part 9 of Mesenbrink versus Mikey Caliendo. I didn't particularly think that Caliendo tried to put him in a headlock. I know that's a Merkel. But he basically tried to put him in a chokehold. And then Mesenbrink, just from the word go, once again, I thought that one was going to be a little more competitive. But it was vintage Mesenbrink. It was Mesenbrink at his best. Caliendo offered no resistance. And really, he started to get desperate. You saw the hand fighting get a lot more aggressive. Again, that was a real, that's just your common everyday wrestling move. That was a headlock that started to turn into a chokehold, and there's a reason the referees stopped it. Okay. Micah Parsons said it. I was thinking it. Caliendo is going to be haunted for the rest of his life by Mitchell Mesenbrink. But that's not what this is all about here. Mesenbrink wins his second NCAA title, 1 match short from getting a perfect 100% bonus rate. We've still never had that in college wrestling history. Barr unfortunately lost it. Mesenbrink really should have had it. He was 2 points shy in that Bryce Hepner matchup. But what a season. I mean, this guy, I know Jax Forrest just showed up on the stage here, but Mitchell Mesenbrink is the face of college wrestling right now. He is the best pound for pound wrestler in the entire country. And Jax Forrest is right there, right? He deserves a stake in that as well. But I'm still going to go with Mesenbrink because now this is your second title in a row. You are not going to lose a match in the rest of your career. The only blemish that you are going to have on your resume is just forgetting that there was a riding time point against David Carr in the NCAA title. Everything else, it's just been nonstop aggressive pace. And that's the same way that Forrest operates, right? So notice how they're in the same category here as the best pound for pound wrestlers overall. But Mesenbrink holds that right now. He better get the Hodge Trophy I'm on the lookout for that to see when that, I think they decide that vote tomorrow. I don't know that they're going to make that decision tonight, but Mesenbrink should be the Hodge Trophy winner because Jesse Mendez got upset. So this really isn't up for debate for me. And it still really wasn't before, even if Mendez had won, because Mesenbrink had was ahead in the bonus rate. He was just the better wrestler over the course of the season. Every single metric, all the numbers pointed to him. So objectively, he is the best wrestler and the most dominant wrestler this season. And honestly, it's been that way over the past couple of seasons. So Mesenbrink, an exclamation point, a perfect ending to the season, 20-4, and go figure. It ends with Mitchell Mesenbrink and Mikey Caliendo in the NCAA final there. But it was everything that, like I said, vintage Mesenbrink to win in that kind of fashion. Levi Haines. We want to talk about bittersweet. Levi Haines is at the end of his NCAA career. This is somebody that you don't want to see move on, but don't be sad that it's over. Be glad that it happened. And the final itself really wasn't that thrilling. I really wasn't all that different from the Luke Lilledahl, Mark Anthony McGowan matchup, where there just wasn't a lot of aggression. And you can say I'm the Penn State podcast host, and I'm going to take the side of Levi Haines and everything. Was Haines? I saw AJ Ferrari stand up launched out of his seat to say that Haines was stalling at the end. You can't just dance around for 2 periods and then start to push the pace with 30 seconds to go and wonder what happened. And if you're going to wrestle like that, you're going to lose more often than not. It works against most other wrestlers, but not against the Penn State guys. And that's Levi Haines is really the last person you want to do that to. So Haines is pushing the pace. He's taking the shots. The refs are calling for action. Chris Minto never really commits to a shot. Then he gets hit with 2 stall calls, and he's wondering what's going on. I don't understand. How did I get a stall call here? Because you're waiting till the final 30 seconds to actually try something. So this was ugly. This is one that's not the best look, right? When you're trying to, this is and the NCAA and college wrestling trying to grow the sport and appeal to more people. This is a tough one. This is a tough one to watch. And because I know that Chris Minto and Levi Haines are so much better than this. They went down to the wire 8-6 in the regular season. This had potential to be a much better match where they went toe to toe with one another. And it never got to that because both Chris Minto and Levi Haines too were not willing to take a shot that led to a counter and led to a reattack and cost them points. So it's this goes to a larger issue where you have to encourage scoring in some sort of way, whether that's more stalling calls or 2 points for a stall instead of just a warning, right? Something that really encourages guys to go and get a takedown, because I think that's unacceptable in an NCAA final. But let that not take away from what Haines has done over the course of his career, right? That's how I want to recap the match itself. It was boring. I hate that it went that way. I don't like that it came down to a stall call and basically 2 escapes and a lot of nothing, a lot of hand fighting. That's not the way that Levi Haines should go out on top. But he goes out on top. He's a 2-time NCAA champ. He is a 3-time finalist. He's 22 just turned. I'm pretty sure he just turned 23. And he just finished it. He just finished his Penn State career in 4 years. He did not redshirt. He did not have any eligibility issues. I say issues right lightly because I don't really have a better word for it, but there wasn't any way to maximize eligibility. So it's very strange to see somebody go 4 years in the lineup and be done in 4 years like this and collect 4 Big Ten titles, 2 NCAA titles, 4-time All-American, 3-time finalist. The accolades just speak for themselves. And Levi Haines is just getting started. I think this guy is capable of being an Olympic representative at the United States. Now we'll see. I'm not going to sit here and declare he's a future Olympic champion, right? but he can be the guy that represents the United States in the future. This guy is Mr. Penn State wrestling above all else. And if you're going to appreciate Levi Haines, appreciate his commitment to the program and to what Penn State continues to build to stay on top. Levi's going to be a big part of that. So I like that right from the beginning, they get to Cleveland. And the first thing he says in interviews is, I'm grateful for my time with Penn State as a college wrestler, but I'm not going anywhere. It just speaks to what Levi Haines is all about when it comes to, he's Mr. Penn State wrestling. I think that's the best way to describe it. So he's going to be around, whether that's in the Nittany Lions Wrestling Club as an assistant coach. He's just going to be there as a competitor or as a teacher. And Levi Haines, it's bittersweet to not see him in the lineup anymore. Just he is the primary example of what a Penn State wrestler embodies. So glad to see that he's going to be glad to know that he's going to be in the room for the foreseeable future. He wins another NCAA title. Great to finish his career. I wish the match was a little more exciting. I wish it was more intense just for the entertainment's sake. But he's an NCAA champion here. Just like Mitchell Mesenbrink, just like Josh Barr, capturing his first NCAA title. We got to talk about Barr's match against Cody Merrill because he lost the 100% bonus rate. We're going to get your thoughts in the live chat as well. Luke Lilledahl wins a title and Penn State breaks the scoring record again. We got more to talk about here on this episode of Locked On Nittany Lions. And this episode is brought to you by Mazda. This is Mazda's moving the game forward for those who show there's more to the score than just what's on the screen. So this is where we highlight a player, an athlete, a play, a fan, a coach. And I'm going to continue to just say the Penn State wrestling team. 181.5 points. They continually raise the bar every single year. It was 172.5. Then it was 177. Now it's 181.5. They have 4 champs here, 6 finalists. So this Penn State team, this program, Cael sets out every single season to make this group better, this program better, and the results show. There's more to these athletes than the highlights. It's the early mornings, it's the late night runs. It's constantly showing up for the squad on and off the mat, on and off the football field, on and off the basketball court. The all-new Mazda CX-5 moves the same way. With more space to connect, a bold new design, and more intuitive technology, you can stay connected on the road. Every position you play, the all-new Mazda CX-5. More to move every side of you. That's Mazda. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, college basketball is nonstop. You got big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to those late-night West Coast battles, there's always some action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, whether that's rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your read. You can mix spreads, totals, player props, and more to match how you see the slate playing out. Then apply that profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, it's your style, now with more upside behind it. Head over to FanDuel.com to get started. That is FanDuel.com. One more time, FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game with FanDuel. And remember, in the month of March, we are having a special promotion here at Locked On. You can get your first month free of the Everydayer Club when you use promo code MARCH. That's right. You will unlock ad-free episodes. You will get an entry into our private listener group chat to talk all things Penn State sports. Check out the link in the show notes or go to LockedOnNittanyLions.supercast.com to claim your first free month of the Everydayer Club with code MARCH. All right, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me on the live show. What a season it was. I want to pick back up with, again, there's so many topics we get to hit on tonight. We'll get your thoughts in the live chat. We will talk about Oklahoma State, right? The push that they're making. Penn State's lineup is supposed to be even better next season. 181.5 is not a safe scoring record, but Penn State resets it once again. And I know there's some disappointment in this with Shane Van Ness and Rocco Welsh as well, but let's I think I made that mistake in other shows where I couldn't help but notice, right? Marcus Blaze, falls in the Big Ten title, and Rocco Welsh has a close call. But look at how Penn State had 7 Big Ten champions at those weight classes. So that's what I really want to focus here, is the fact that, hey, Penn State still had 4 individual champions. It wasn't pretty, but I don't blame that on Penn State whatsoever. I think these opponents were forced to wrestle the way that they did to do their best to keep Penn State at bay. So Josh Barr doesn't finish with the 100% bonus rate, which is a shame, but you take the NCAA title. He's now a 2-time finalist and a first-time champ at 197 here. I will give Cody Merrill credit. Held his own, didn't get caught in any action that he wasn't really comfortable with. That is a strong wrestler. I'm not going to sit here and lie to everybody. Cody Merrill is a really talented wrestler, and I think he's only going to get better. This is the final that I see playing out for the next 2 seasons, because Barr's not losing. Barr's going to be a 3-time NCAA champ from the looks of it, right? I can't guarantee anything anymore because PJ Duke had the look of a 4-timer, and well, he's not going to be. But Barr, who's stopping him at 197? I think Cody Merrill's only going to get better. He's only going to get more athletic. And that was the difference here. Barr's the veteran wrestler. Barr's just more athletic. He's stronger. Really, it's the speed. It's the overall athleticism, but it's the speed. Merrill's just not as athletic right now. That was somebody that came into this season. He wasn't a true 197 pounder. He was actually someone that had to, put on the right amount of muscle and get into better athletic shape. And that's something that Locked On Oklahoma State had pointed out, that, hey, Merrill is really talented, but there's certainly more to him in the future. So Barr just simply, just didn't really have a lot of shot attempts that Merrill was giving. Merrill, I think, got hit with a stall at the end because he certainly wasn't pushing the action. And that was by design, because I do think that Josh Barr really could have opened this one up. But again, an opponent being really passive against a Penn State wrestler, trying to do everything that they can just to not let this one get out of control. So Barr gets the first of definitely what I think will be a 3-time NCAA title winner, because this is his class until he leaves. 125, Luke Lilledahl is an NCAA champ for the first time in his career. Certainly has 3-timer possibilities as well. He has potential. I don't see who stops him at 125, unless there's some recruit that I don't know about. But Lilledahl, Mark Anthony McGowan, same thing, was kind of surprised that, okay, Lilledahl continues to hold center. He's stepping forward. The amount of times that I saw McGowan step back, and I was just waiting for it. I was just waiting for the stall call. I was like, when's it going to happen? And Lilledahl said it in the interview. He's like, that's not how I want to wrestle. So I don't blame that on Lilledahl. I think people thought that Lilledahl was being booed. But 2 things. They were chanting Luke, right? And you also had the crowd booing the referees, because it's just like I think they were booing the match overall, that there just isn't a lot of action. You have to find ways to create action. And that's why you're going to look at this match and it's like, it's 2-1. Luke beats McGowan again for the second time this season without a takedown. I guess I shouldn't have expected anything different. I mean, I wasn't expecting a disqualification. That's how it went down the last time. Was McGowan, if you missed it in the Penn State Princeton duel, he disqualified himself because he got hit with 5 stall calls. McGowan could have been hit with more in this one. He just got hit with the 2, but there definitely could have warranted a 3rd. It's a shame that you get to the finals and then this is how it ends. There wasn't any action there. There was no scoring, where Lilledahl, again, he wants to be aggressive, but why take a bad shot attempt if McGowan's going to drop to the knee, back up, be around the edge of the circle? What's the point of that? Because then you're opening yourself up to bad reattacks if you try to shoot, and then he's going to circle around and you're right. So there needs to be something put in place to just encourage more offense. You're not going to get Mitchell Mesenbrink and Jax Forrest across the board. You're going to get a few instances where McGowan or others are just going to be tentative and not try to put themselves in harm's way. But if you're holding circle, if you're pushing the action, if you're stepping forward, trying to engage with the other opponent, then that's why Lilledahl won here, because he just stuck to fundamentals. And sometimes that's the difference in these finals. So, all right, we got to take another break. Live chat, I promise you. I still want to talk about Shane, right? I have an agenda now. So it's different with the watch party. I have an agenda that I got to get through because Penn State could have gone 6 for 6. I don't want that to take away from history, right? Penn State made history. But we got to get through the two other finals here with Shane Van Ness and Rocco Welsh, because honestly, what happened with Shane Van Ness? I was fully expecting him to win that one, and he came up short. And honestly, that was his best opportunity to win an NCAA title, and he comes up empty-handed. Let's talk about the losses, but also the history that Penn State has now made for the third consecutive season here on this live edition of Locked On Nittany Lions. And this episode is brought to you by Supply House. You wouldn't show up to a game without a plan, and you wouldn't show up to a job without the right parts. That's why putting Supply House in your starting lineup is always the right call. Here are the stats. 300,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products, 500 tried and true brands, and 90% of the country is in that 1 to 2 day delivery zone. So if you need last minute coupling, a compressor, a press tool, they've got it, and they'll get it to you quickly. Now that's the definition of clutch. If you're a pro in the trades, you can join the MVP rewards programs and become a trade master. Pros get exclusive member-only pricing, priority shipping, industry-leading customer service, and it's all absolutely free. Visit supplyhouse.com/TM to learn more about becoming a trade master. Use promo code SH5College for 5% off your first order. That is supplyhouse.com. Promo code SH5College. Supply House, real people, real service. Today's episode is also brought to you by Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. Now, I always knew the game, but I never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. All right. I still got a little more of my agenda to go through, and then I want to get your thoughts in the live chat. And I know we're going to hit so many different topics, whether that's lineup changes, what's the overall landscape of college wrestling going to look like for the next season. We can get into any and all of it. Oklahoma State, man. Freshmen, the young guns. We'll get to it, right? Shane Van Ness unfortunately drops a match that, well, I was confident as ever. And I totally forgot that he beat Aiden Valencia in the regular season. But look at what time can do, and momentum and fearlessness. I think that was a major key here in these championship bouts. For the most part, you saw fearlessness. The guys that won, so Sergio Vega, the underdogs, Landon Robidoux, Aiden Valencia, fearless. Those guys wrestled fearless. Isaac Trumbull against Younger Bastida. In the sport of wrestling, there is truly nothing guaranteed, and just because guys are favored, it does not mean anything. It doesn't mean a darn thing. And I'm watching Shane Van Ness and he's tentative. He level changes. He's doing some head fakes, some shot fakes, and Aiden Valencia is just going for it. He's like, "Let's go, man, let's go!" And this was such a decisive victory. I'm looking back and I'm like, Valencia, he wrestled in the ACC this season. He's 15-7. Gosh, Shane Van Ness just tacked the guy beforehand, somebody that I imagine is better than, but Valencia just found his stride. Good for the redshirt freshman here. And he's going to be the guy to beat going into next season. But 149, again, we'll talk about that more here. Valencia, these are these breakout moments where they have a deep run into the postseason and it becomes a Cinderella run. But this was his breakout party. He beat Shane Van Ness 8-5 in a match where I said, this was your worry about Van Ness. Which version of Shane Van Ness is going to show up? The one that's, kind of wrestling passive and not getting to his strengths. And, really Valencia, he must have had how many shot attempts, and Van Ness just kept looking for that re-attack. He just kept looking for that re-attack. And it was Valencia that it did. Well, Van Ness doesn't want to take a bad shot. Did Valencia take a bad shot? Because and any time that he did, he just readjusted. He either backed out of it or went in again. So props to Valencia for being the more aggressive wrestler. Oh, also, because I don't want to forget about it. We got the referees involved in the independent review, and just the whole replay crew involved again here. So I'm glad it works out for Aiden Valencia because it is the right call. Okay. So my point being that if it's right for Valencia, then it should have been right for PJ Duke, especially since it was called on the mat and they stopped the action once again. They're tapping Shane Van Ness. Hey, you're done. And then they go to review and everything. Because what happens if they wipe that off the board? Well, they should have, because the reason they didn't, the reason they did it is not because they were going to call it evenly for Penn State. It's because they now had to they had to recorrect themselves. This wasn't a makeup call. This wasn't like a football game or a baseball game where you get a bad call and you get a makeup penalty later on. This was because, we messed up with the PJ Duke call. So now we got to get it right. And that's the right call. Aiden Valencia had a takedown there. Van Ness was certainly, I don't care that he was improving position. There were clear 3 points of takedown, and Van Ness is in a defensive position at that point. And it's still kind of well beyond that reaction time. He's grabbing onto a toe. I don't know what control Van Ness has at that point, but it's also the same thing with PJ Duke. PJ Duke had clear control and they took that away from him. So if you're wondering why did Valencia get that call, but PJ Duke didn't, that's exactly why, because the NCAA was like, can't let that happen again. And unfortunately it cost Penn State not once, but twice. It cost them in 2 situations there. There's really nothing you can do about that. I bet Cael is raging because it happened against him twice, right? It went against his wrestlers twice, but what can you do at that point? And then Rocco Welsh. Rocco Welsh, this one is the one that I visualized the outcome of that matchup. I saw it going that way for the most part. With Max McAnally, just being more aggressive. He set the pace early on. He found a shot attempt, and that was the difference. I never thought that this would get to, 10-7, that they would trade takedowns back and forth. This was a 1 takedown match, whether it was going to be in sudden victory. Maybe it was going to go to tiebreaker. I thought it could have gone to sudden victory, but McAnally found the takedown, and then that was the difference. Welsh never really committed to any shots. He was passive with his offense and then kind of waited to the last second. And it's like, I'm sitting there and I can't help myself. I say, hey, if Welsh had, instead of waiting the final 20 seconds to chase McAnally around the mat, why aren't you starting that with 45 seconds to go? Why aren't you starting that with 60 seconds to go? And that's pretty much the case for a lot of these other wrestlers. So whether it's Antrell Taylor, whether it's Rocco Welsh, Chris Minto, Mark Anthony McGowan, Welsh is kind of in that similar situation where, you don't get hit with a stall call, but it's why are you waiting until the very end where it's like, I got to go. You should have flipped that switch at 45 to 60 seconds left, not 15 to 25. And that's what cost yourself, because you actually had a moment where you're forcing stall calls. It's 4-3. And you do that for the final 45 seconds. Imagine what could happen. So it's a learning moment for Rocco Welsh. Obviously, this is not. This is not indicative of the next 3 years at 184, because Rocco Welsh could very well win next year. Aiden Sinclair could be the guy next year. Angelo Ferrari is going to look to get healthy. He's still a title contender, even though I don't think he ends up winning. He's still a guy. He will be around. So 184 is unsettled. Rocco Welsh won in the Big Ten championship, but the NCAA title matters more. So McAnally probably is glad that it worked out the way that it did. He gets the NCAA title, and that's that. But 184 is far from settled. Rocco Welsh is still a very good wrestler. I just want to see him and Marcus Blaze be a little more confident in their offense, because they can score. They can. I don't understand it at times. I understand wanting to be ready for a reattack and not take a bad shot. I get it. But those guys are talented with their offense. I see the comment section is going crazy. It is absolutely going crazy. And I don't even know where to begin, because I always start at the top, because I want to, hey, first come, first serve. Let's get your comments in there. But I also at the same time want to be caught up with the people that are responding in real time with what they're responding to with what I just said, right? So we're basically starting the conversation over to an extent. Let me just go random here. Let's see. I'll find a comment, and let's just get the live chat going here. All right. I love Cael, but I also think David Taylor is doing a great job for Oklahoma State. He left out the state part, because the Sooner fans are going to be like, what do you, this is great. We would love David Taylor as our coach. Oklahoma State is in a good spot. Don't get it twisted. Cael Sanderson and Penn State are still operating at a high level. I still think that this dynasty is a dynasty. Yeah, Oklahoma State, they had multiple NCAA titles, and look at the freshmen, and that's what ESPN did. They're like, oh yeah, it's cool that Penn State broke another NCAA record. I didn't even really get to that. Think about that for a moment. 181.5. Oh yeah, whatever. It's whatever. Think about that. When the competition, it continues to improve, Oklahoma State's better. Nebraska's better. Okay, Iowa took a step back. Ohio State was supposed to be the second best team this year. They didn't do that great at NCAAs. I don't need to dunk on them anymore. I already said what I said. Maybe I'll say it again. But the competition did level up. This wasn't when Penn State won by 100 points and Cornell was the second place team. And basically that's when Oklahoma State said, we got to make a change. And Iowa was starting to kind of teeter a little bit. Everyone is truly, the programs around the country are better significantly compared to when Penn State had the 100-point scoring margin away from the second place team. You now have legitimate multiple title threats at Oklahoma State, at Ohio State, at Nebraska, at multiple different schools. And Cornell Cornell literally tripped into second place that year. Now you have legitimate threats. And Penn State's still raising the bar. Penn State has 7 champions at the Big Ten tournament. Penn State has 6 finalists, which ties the record. Was really hoping they would get 5 champions at a minimum. There's always next year, right? And then they break the scoring record again. And they do this without 10 out of 10 All-Americans. It's strange, though, because I want to have that debate in itself. Was this even, do we think this was really the best team in NCAA history? You would probably say no. The numbers say otherwise. 4 champs, 6 finalists, the scoring record at 181.5. But they didn't get 10 out of 10 All-Americans. Isn't that interesting? And then arguably the year before that, the team that scored 172.5, I think we kind of had the same debate last season because they only had 3 finalists, but they had 10 out of 10 All-Americans and they scored more points. They raised the bar. So Cael's doing his job when he says, I want to make this team, this program better as much as we can. If that's a leap, if that's a jump, if that's so instead of the NCAA record being broken by a few points here, by 3, 4, or 5 points, they break it by a dozen or 2 dozen or something like that. That's crazy. I don't think they would. I don't think they can do that. Not now anyway. But they still raise the bar. So next year, I'm expecting the goal is going to be that they don't set this as a goal, but the idea is that they get to 185. Oklahoma State, though, is in prime position. Basically, what's going on right now is the sport is turning into, instead of Penn State just being the dynasty, you are now seeing a power struggle starting to emerge with Penn State being, yes, the old guard, right? The team that has been this happens. This happens in the sport of wrestling. It was Oklahoma State for a long time, right? And I hope I have my history right. I'm not an NCAA college wrestling history expert, but I have an understanding of the foundation of it. It was Oklahoma State for the longest time. And then you saw Minnesota emerge, and then Iowa with Dan Gable, and then Oklahoma State really faded, and they didn't really get back to that dynasty mode. And then Iowa kept continuing it, and then Penn State. And now we're here in the present with Penn State. And I probably accelerated past all of that, so I get it. Somebody will correct me, I'm sure. So now you're starting to see David Taylor and Oklahoma State, they are taking a piece of that power away. Penn State is still the team to beat. If ESPN wants to just gloss over that, fine. I understand. You have the rights to the Big 12. You want to promote Oklahoma State and Jack's Force because it benefits you at the end of the day. Penn State is not affiliated with you. So you need to make them look like the enemy. Like what they do, what they accomplish isn't that important in the scheme of things. Oh, you have 4 champs, 6 finalists, another scoring record. No big deal. They just do that. But look at Oklahoma State. Look at what they're doing. And Oklahoma State had to take a piece of Penn State in order to get back to, or start to get back to, vintage Oklahoma State. So I give them credit. I give them a ton of credit. I am not worried about next season, because Penn State's returning 9 starters and they will shuffle around. So, okay, well, what happens with PJ Duke? What happens with Marcus Blaze? Masanosuke Ono is ready to go into the lineup. I really hope Jack's Forest stays at 133. I would love to see an Ono versus Forest battle at NCAAs, because we're not going to get a dual meet, unfortunately. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we're not going to get a dual meet anytime soon anyway. If you think we're going to get a home and home with Oklahoma State and Penn State, probably not right now. To be determined years from now. But Ono versus, and that's why I wish Oklahoma State was, this was Ohio State or Michigan or somebody, right? That they could meet in the Big Tens. You would see them at multiple tournaments. You have to wait. Oklahoma State basically will run the Big 12 conference. Penn State will continue to run the Big 10 conference, and then the two will meet at NCAAs. Oklahoma State will keep closing the gap year by year. So instead of losing, instead of Penn State having, this wide margin of victory, it's still going to be Penn State's in first, Oklahoma State's in second. But the idea is that the gap's going to close, and it's going to keep closing. And then does Oklahoma State eventually take over? Or does Penn State still stay on top? I'm going to have to say that eventually Oklahoma State is going to get theirs. But how soon is that going to happen? If I'm doing some lineup projections in my head, so next year, well, Penn State's supposed to be better next year. Penn State's supposed to return 9 starters. You have Ono, Tyler Kasak comes back. You're just losing Levi Haines. Oklahoma State returns everybody next year. Okay, they're going to get better. It means that the rest of the competition, all the other teams are going to, they're going to take points from there. They're not going to take points from Penn State. So Penn State will continue. You will see Penn State and Oklahoma State continue to transcend, and the rest of the competition dial back. But how much do you close the gap between Penn State if you're David Taylor and Oklahoma State? You're off to a great start. You're the cool kids. You're the cool program. You're fun. Jax Forrest, Sergio Vega. Cody Merrill was there. He got there. He wasn't supposed to. Landon Robidoux upset. Landon Robidoux's win over PJ Duke was more important, I think, was more important in the scheme of things than beating Antrell Taylor, if I'm being honest. That win in the NCAA semifinals was bigger for Oklahoma State and Landon Robidoux than actually winning an NCAA title. Maybe not personally, right? Robidoux would obviously say, oh yeah, winning an NCAA title is more important. You have to win the title. But I'm talking about the publicity and the promotion and all that stuff. PJ Duke, nobody's supposed to beat PJ Duke. That was a 4-time champion waiting to happen. Most of us thought that. And for better or for worse, Robidoux and Oklahoma State got that win. That's the thing. They keep doing that. Robidoux beats PJ Duke. Circumstances aside, he won. Robidoux beats Antrell Taylor. That wasn't supposed to happen. Wyatt Hendrickson wasn't supposed to beat Gable Steveson. Sergio Vega wasn't supposed to beat Jesse Mendez. Cody Merrill wasn't supposed to be there with Josh Barr. So Oklahoma State, they're on the right track. I just don't see them catching Penn State in 2027. I don't see them catching them. And when I say catching them, I mean surpassing them. I don't see it happening in 27. I don't see it happening in 28 either. 29, well, that's when Penn State's lineup actually starts to turn over. Jax will still be there. Sergio Vega will still be there. D. Lockett's going to get better. Landon Robidoux's going to be. Those guys will all be juniors and seniors at that time. Penn State, that's when you lose. You don't have Mitchell Mesenbrink yet. You start to lose them one by one. Mesenbrink's gone. Van Ness is gone. You would lose Josh Barr. You would lose Luke Lilledahl. Tyler Kasak's not there anymore. You would still have Marcus Blaze, PJ Duke, the Mirasola twins. Trying to think so I don't miss anybody. Jaden James is hopefully coming into his own at that point in time. How is Landon Seiden going to do coming into the lineup as of, right? It's that kind of turning point at that time. But that's when, so 2029 is when I would say this is where Penn State's kind of at its most vulnerable in the scheme of things. Because there's really not much David Taylor can do since they don't meet head to head. You don't see them until NCAAs. They basically operate in their own little worlds until you get to March. One comment, and I just gave you 7 minutes of analysis. Again, I have a lot of thoughts about it, and I hope that conveys it. So let's do another one where we just kind of randomly scroll up and see if I can find an interesting comment. All right, so we have a counter to that. Cael and Penn State will always be the better team. Not forever. Not forever. Oklahoma State, they have money. They have commitment. Oklahoma wrestling runs deep, just like it does in Pennsylvania. Penn State and Oklahoma State are basically two sides of the same coin when they're at their best. And what's it going to land on? You will see Penn State. I've said this is how the dynamic's going to go in probably 5 years or so. It's going to be Penn State for 2 years and then Oklahoma State for 2 years. And when you're in that window, can the other programs steal one away from you and make it 3 in a row, right? Because when Oklahoma State has all of its juniors and seniors and Penn State's going through a little bit of a lineup change and they're mostly comprised of freshmen and sophomore, maybe a transfers in there or something, you're just not as veteran heavy. Whereas Oklahoma State, they're fully reloaded. They got every guy back. Those superstars now are at their best as seniors. They're practically unbeatable at that point. But then they graduate. And then Penn State, all of those guys that are freshmen and sophomores will now be juniors and seniors. And the dynamic just flips back and forth, back and forth. And that's just the nature of the sport of wrestling. It's not like a football team where you manage 100 players. You're managing 30 wrestlers and 10 of them get into the lineup. So, and that's how you have to recruit because you don't have that much room. So they have to recruit in cycles that way. All right, scroll to, let's see who we get next here. Who do we get next? So 5 years. Okay, here we go. Masanosuke Ono is the only potential lost Forrest will have in college. Book it. And Oklahoma State McCourt fans will cry that Penn State had to recruit out of the country to beat him. Yes, this is true. They will say that Penn State had to go and get the superstar international wrestler just to beat Jax Forrest. If they stay in the same weight class. Again, Jax Forrest might bump up to 141. I don't know what's going to happen next season. I could see all of them because of some of the guys that they have coming in recruiting. Is Troy Spratley going to be able to hold 25? So I could see Taylor bumping everybody up. Vega goes to 49. Forrest goes to 41. I'm trying to think of who else. Robidoux would probably stay at 57. I don't see him. He doesn't look like a big 157 pounder yet. Eventually D Lockett would go to 74. I don't know the lineup inside and out fully, but Ono versus Jax. See, that's why I wish home and home or schedule, or they were in the same conference together. We got to wait 5 months for the possibility that it is Ono versus Jax. And Jack's got a takedown against Ben Davino. Oh my goodness. I never thought we'd see the Ben Davino give up a takedown like that. I almost want to, I wish I had that one pulled up in front. I just want to watch it again. It was just the Jax really is built different as a prospect. That is a guy that you want to root for when we get around to the Olympics and stuff, and someone who you can count on to at least be a good representative getting to that point, right? This is beyond, right, NCAAs and everything. I look at Jax Forrest and I say, that guy could be an Olympic champion. Like, let's just forget about, I know we're talking college and Penn State and Oklahoma State for a second, but Forrest screams possible Olympic champion to me. At whatever weight class, would he be 61 or 65 kilos? He was the world team rep at 19 years old. Dude's crazy. Sergio Vega and Jax Forrest gets all the attention, but Sergio Vega beat Jesse Mendez. And that's, if you were here on this show, I said, hey, do not book Jesse Mendez to win a title. I said, I'm not really going to pick against him, but just know that Sergio Vega is really not like anybody he's seen. Oh, he's faced tall wrestlers before and he's beat them. You know, he's strong, he's speed, but Vega's different because Vega's craftier. And honestly, Vega's able to twist and bend his legs in ways that don't make any sense, that really aren't humanly possible at the end of the day. And he plays to his strengths, and he's literally built different, right? And he beats Jesse Mendez, and there was that it wasn't close to the Matt Ramos Spencer Lee thing, but that was your Spencer Lee moment where, hey, most people, I know at the beginning of the season, nobody was picking Sergio Vega to win. It was Jesse Mendez's weight class to lose, which was true. This was true. But still, for the true freshman, I think that one's more impressive. Out of Jax Forrest beating Ben Davino, Landon Robidoux beating Antrell Taylor, Sergio Vega beating Jesse Mendez should be the one that kind of gets the most credibility, has the brightest spotlight after tonight. That one was something. For Mendez to go down like that, and I know he's the Ohio State wrestler, but I can still feel bad for him. Mendez is a likable guy, right? Quality wrestler. He's going to try to be an Olympic rep at some point in time. The future of college wrestling, ladies and gentlemen, is I have no, once they figure out what is a takedown, how can we encourage more scoring? Once we get on the same page with that, college wrestling is only going to get more entertaining because the new wave of wrestlers, they already are predispositioned to do that. It's not just Jax Forrest. Bo Bassett's getting ready to come up. All these other guys that, and I guess I can go and look at the the class of 2026 recruiting, but these guys are predisposed to want and to score as much as possible. Yeah, you'll get a couple of low scoring matches, right? Jack's it was a one takedown match between Forrest and Davino. Okay, that's going to happen at points in time. But all these guys want to go out there and put up as many points as possible. Now I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the class of 2026 right now. So like Jaden James is getting ready to come into Penn State. He's a guy that's going to go out there and score. And people are saying, you know, if you thought Penn State had some good prospects that came to that came through Happy Valley, Jaden James, there are just some people that say, wait for it. You were impressed by PJ Duke. You were impressed by Zane Rutherford and Bo Nickel. Wait for Jaden James. And that's crazy to think that those guys, they watch those, right? I can't speak to, because I wasn't covering Penn State wrestling closely when Zane Rutherford, and then as Bo Nickel was finishing up, right? That's when I started, you know, even before this, right? So if you thought those prospects were good at the time for Penn State, just you wait for Jaden James and things like that. But I'm eager to see Bo Bassett get on this landscape. Sam Herring is another Penn State commit. I don't want to see it. And here's the thing. I don't want to rattle off, because Oklahoma State, they have 4 out of the top 6 in this class. Jax Forrest is one of them. Drayshawn Ross, Jordan and Jaden Rainey, the twins are going to be, do they go in right away? See, I could see the Raineys going in right away at potentially. Jaden Rainey's listed at 133. Does he start? Does that mean Forrest has to go to 141? They can also redshirt these guys too. They can redshirt them too. Penn State's going to get all strategic and everything. They're going to redshirt guys. I think that's a good topic to keep going with here as we approach an hour, but I don't really care. We're going to keep talking about it. Because wow, I can't believe we're at the end of the regular season here. It just goes by so fast. The lineup next year. Let's talk about that. The lineup next year. And I got to do. I know the live chat. Live chat's awesome tonight. I see all the comments, and I'm going everywhere, every which direction. Because now I don't have an agenda. I recap the finals and I'm good. I'm content. I can't believe this season's over. This was a lot of fun. This is a lot of awesome season for Penn State and for the sport of wrestling, right? And there's only more to come. There's only more that I can't wait. I cannot wait for next season. I can't wait for freestyle over the summer. I want to see some of these guys get better. I want to see what Marcus Blaze, how he gets better, right? So the lineup next year, 125 is going to be Luke Lilledahl. He's not moving. They can't afford to move him because they don't have a lightweight at the moment. And Lilledahl is just going to have to keep cutting, because I know there was some chatter. I was hearing some things that, he might go up to 133, things like that. That's just conversations with other people that follow the program and everything. That's not inside information that's coming from the coaching staff or anything like that. But just like, can Lilledahl hold 25? He's basically going to have to. You have Ono at 133. 141. This is where it gets interesting. Does Marcus Blaze, and I'm going to have to take drinks of water here and there, because if I'm going to keep talking with all of you, 141 is where it gets interesting. Because if Ono's going in at 133, what does that mean for Marcus Blaze? Well, you don't just bench Blaze. He goes up to 141, right? And go figure. I'm thinking the exact same thing. Blaze could benefit from taking a year off. He's wrestled a lot of matches in the last 8 months. I agree. 110%. I think Blaze looked exhausted. He looked gassed. I bet he's glad that the season, just because he just gets a second to breathe. Same thing with PJ Duke, right? That was why we were having discussions over the summer. I mean, even Jeff Byers included, like, we don't know what's going to happen with PJ Duke here. It might be best just to redshirt PJ Duke because he's wrestled so much. But then what's the excuse for Jax Forrest? Why can Jax Forrest do it? Why can he go through the same freestyle circuit and everything else? But, wait, now let me think about that for a second, because David Taylor got real strategic there. Jax didn't wrestle a full collegiate season. Oh, he's good. He's good. Now that I think that through, that is a big brain move right there. Think about that for a second. Why does Jax look so fresh? Why does he look so energized? He went through the same exact slate. Marcus Blaze was wrestling at U28, U20, U23 senior level, right? He went crazy. Same thing with PJ Duke. He was the freestyle rep at his weight class. He upset all the guys. He was beating 28-year-old men, and he just finished his high school career. Jax Forrest did the same thing. But notice how Jax Forrest looks. What did Jax do that September to January? What did he do? He didn't wrestle for Oklahoma State. David Taylor. Very strategic, very smart. Now, does anybody else see it? Did anybody else notice that? Because PJ didn't get time off. Marcus didn't get time off. Jax kind of did. Jax did. Oh, that was very strategic there. So you say Luke, Blaze, Ono, Van Ness, Tyler Casack, PJ Mitchell, Mesenbrink, Rocco, Welsh, Josh Barr, Cole Mirasola. I would flip Ono and Blaze. I don't think Ono, you were doing a disservice to him. You were doing a disservice to him at 141. Now, I've said that on previous shows. I know that I have, because, and that's not because, oh, I think Ono's a better 41 pounder. That's where he needs to go because he can't beat Blaze. That would be a disservice to him. He's not at 41 in folk style. Maybe in freestyle he could do it, but if you just, I saw Ono walking around at Big Tens. He's a 125. Like maybe Ono goes to 57. Maybe Ono cuts to 57 and Blaze goes, or excuse me, and Lilledahl goes to 133. Okay, that's a possibility that I haven't really thought about until now. So the options here, when the dust settles, here is what I'm thinking. I think it's going to be Lilledahl at 25, Ono at 33. Blaze takes the red shirt. I think Blaze takes the red shirt as we sit here right now in March, but that could, as we talk about things and we get closer to August, September, maybe that changes. I think Blaze red shirts. I think he would benefit from a red shirt. Nate Desmond goes in at 141. He trained there this season. He competed. He got a few matches under his belt, and he took the red shirt. So I'm seeing people in the comments say, hey, don't forget about Desmond, and Desmond would have probably been an All-American. I'm glad he took the red shirt, though. I'm glad he took the red shirt because you didn't need him to be an All-American this season. If it cost Penn State the points record or something like that, I guess hindsight would have been 2020, and they should have went with Desmond. But they didn't need him in the lineup this season. You got him to train and wrestle at 141, and now he's ready and better because of it. So I'm good with Blaze taking a year off and redshirting. Ono's at 33. Desmond's at 41. And then it's status quo everywhere else. Van Ness is back at 49. 57. PJ Duke goes out. Tyler Casack comes back in. 65. Mitchell Mesenbrink. Now here's the dilemma. This is where it gets interesting. Do you go with Casack, Mesenbrink, and Henkel at 74, or, in my opinion, the best lineup on paper is Casack, PJ Duke at 65, and Mitchell Mesenbrink at 74. Or you just have Duke go all the way up to 74, kind of like Levi Haines. You just bypass that and have Duke go all the way up to 74. Now that's something. That's something to jump. And PJ Duke's the only one that could jump 2 weight classes like that. Or how about the guy that took the red shirt, was a top 20 pound for pound recruit in his own right? I've watched William Henkel. William Henkel was beating the 84 pound starter for Michigan, Brock Mantanona. I know it's freestyle, but Penn State's backup at 74 is beating Michigan's starter multiple times, right? He beat him multiple times on the freestyle circuit. That's what William Henkel is. So Henkel's an instant title contender at 74. Is he going to be Levi Haines right out of the gate? I don't know how 74 is going to look ultimately next season. I imagine Chris Minto's the guy to beat, right? Levi Haines is gone. Carson Hartshell is gone because I have the rankings pulled up in front of me here. Patrick Kennedy, So the next guys up would be, Alex Facundo still has eligibility, but see, I talked to my counterpart, Oklahoma State. They don't even know that he's going to start next season. I think the two guys to beat would be Chris Minto and Bo Mantanona. So if William Henkel's beating the older brother, if he's beating Brock Mantanona, maybe Bo's the older brother. I can't remember. One of them. You're beating the other brother. You're beating the 184 pounder, that Mantanona. William Henkel's right there in the mix at 174, honestly. So Penn State really can't go wrong. What's the most likely outcome? I would say 57 is Tyler Cael, 65 is Mitchell Mesenbrink, 74 is William Henkel. And then Rocco, Welsh, Josh Barr, Cole Mirasola. That's not up for the debate. And do not say in the comments that Cole Mirasola needs pushed out, because he does not. He's good. He is good. That is your first season starting at heavyweight. Greg Kirkfleet wasn't a superstar his first year at heavyweight. That is an old guy weight class. You need to be a veteran. But nobody has offense like Cole Mirasola. All he has to do is add the muscle. Excuse me. All he has to do is add the muscle. So once Cole adds the good weight, he is as much of a title contender as anybody else next season. I'm talking next season, because this group loses Younger Bastida, Isaac Trumbull, Tay Gadali. Okay, AJ Ferrari could come back, should come back. Nick Feldman would come back. Connor Doucette for Oklahoma State is gone. Ben Keeter would be back. And then there's Cole Mirasola. So he's already in the top 5. And it's not like he was losing by major decision to these guys or getting teched. He beat Nick Feldman in the regular season. It was 2-1 against Ferrari. He beat Ben Keeter, but he lost those other times to ride-outs, basically. So Cole is fine. Cole is on the right track. So Penn State's lineup, in a long roundabout way, let's just Lilledahl, Ono, Desmond, Van Ness, Cael, Mesenbrink, Henkel, Welsh, Barr, Cole Mirasola. That's your lineup next season, as we sit here right now. Things could change. Who knows? Maybe Jaden James comes in right away and he's at 165. I don't know. Mesenbrink does ultimately move up to 74. That could happen. Maybe Ono goes to 25, right? Lilledahl's got a red shirt. Crazy to think. Blaze doesn't red shirt, and Blaze wants the spot, and Desmond, he battles with Desmond. He beats Desmond. I saw a comment that I would not want Van Ness to go up to 57. I think that I think that at 149, it's, hey, he's good, but he's not great. And he's not really built for any other weight classes. He's too big for 141. And he'd definitely be too small for 157. That's not a good idea. Can't be losing to the 18 seed. We're talking about Christian Cael. Christian Cael was an All-American. So he lost to a top 8 guy. The seeding was real bad this year. And Christian Cael graduates. So that's another All-American. That is another All-American that graduates this season. So if you want to say, well, he lost to the 18 seed, so be it. But then how about he beat the number 4 seed and he beat the number 5 seed and Nick Feldman, right? All Mirasola needs to do is bulk up. Yeah, Cael coming back is exciting. I think he's an afterthought right now in the scheme of things, right? Not out of disrespect, but you just kind of forget that, like, oh, he's there. Like, he didn't wrestle this season, but he's there and he's ready to come back. So, and I mean, could Cael just go up to 74 and be done with it there? And he jumps Mesenbrink. So I'm really eager to see how 57, 65, and 74 shake out. And then think of the backups. Yeah. Chad's got it. Will Connor Mirasola ever wrestle at Penn State? Yes, he will when Barr is finished. So Mirasola can't make that cut to 184. Connor, that's two, and Cole, obviously, but Connor's not going to make that cut to 84. I just think about all the guys that aren't wrestling, right? Joe Seeley's a former top 3 pound for pound recruit, and he's the third best guy at 157. He would be an All-America. He'd be at 57 this year. If you had PJ Duke, Tyler Casack, and Joe Seeley all wrestle unattached at the, just for the sake of it, at NCAAs, who would have placed, right? Let's restart the tournament. Let's make the calls that are right on the mat and not give anybody any unfair advantages. Who would win if you add those guys into the mix? You had Tyler Casack and Joe Seeley there. I can tell you this, they'd both be All-Americans for sure. Where they would place, I would still like to think that, hey, PJ Duke wins the title if he doesn't get screwed over by the refs. Just saying, man, I'm still not over it, if you couldn't tell. That's going to take an off season at least. Can he beat Chris Minto? Who did he pin? He pinned Antrell Taylor. Tyler Casack is very much, he is absolutely a title contender. He pinned Antrell Taylor in the Big Ten tournament to win a Big Ten title. So why hasn't Mirasola put on the weight this year? He finished NCAAs with the same record as Davis. Well, you don't just add weight to add weight. So for Cole Mirasola, it's the same thing. Do you want to add weight to a point where he's just not athletic anymore? You give him more size. Instead of him wrestling around 230, you get him to bulk up to 240 just for the sake of it. Then he's not as quick. And that's not good that's not muscle weight. That's just weight for weight. He's not a natural heavyweight. So this is going to take some time, honestly. But I think Mirasola is going to be ready. He's right there in the mix next season. Again, this weight class turns over. The biggest title threats are AJ Ferrari, Nick Feldman, who he beat, Ben Keeter, who he beat. And AJ Ferrari, he lost 2-1. What does that tell us about it? What does that prove to us about anything? Your top 3, Cole is in the top 4 next season when this weight class resettles. So I'm a Cole Mirasola believer. I get it. There are going to be doubters. I understand that, but I'll let him prove that. I think that he is a title contender, and he's one of the best heavyweights going into next season. Yeah, Tyler Casack will do just fine, whether it's at 57, 65, or 74, honestly. Terribly ran tournament, and ESPN did a terrible job as usual. I don't get the seeding. I really don't, because there's supposed to be a mathematic formula to make sure, because let's be honest here. Jax Forrest should not have been the 1 seed going into this tournament. He should have been the 3 seed. He wrestled half a season. That's like saying, well, we know the Dodgers are the best. The power rankings say that the Dodgers are the best team in baseball, so they need to be the number 1 seed. That's not how it works. Well, we know that Tom Brady and the Patriots, we know that they're the best team and they're a dynasty, but they lost a few games, but we know they're the best team in the power rankings, so they should be the number 1 seed and get home field advantage. It's not how it works. Jack should have been the 3 seed. Ben DeVino should have been the 1. Marcus Blaze should have been the 2. And then Jack should have been the 3. And Aaron Seidel should have been the 4. That's how it should have been. And would that have changed? I think that would have absolutely changed the entire outcome of this tournament. Maybe. Well, would it have? Well, because Jax probably still would have beat Blaze. But Ben DeVino against Aaron Seidel, right? I don't know that Seidel is proved a lot against Blaze, proved a lot over the course of this season. Seidel is a lot better than I would give him credit for. Initially there, I thought Seidel was kind of distant from that group, that, okay, this is Jax Forrest, but Ben DeVino and Marcus Blaze are right there together. And I guess Aaron Seidel, he's fun. He's around, but he's not in the mix. No, he is. And he's better than Blaze. He beat Blaze pretty decisively. Any transfers coming in? Absolutely not. Maybe you get some depth. Maybe you get a transfer that wants to come in as a grad senior. But there's no spot. There's no spots in the starting lineup. Again, Lilledahl, Ono. Ono's essentially your transfer, if you want to consider it that way. Ono's your transfer from Japan. You have Lilledahl, Ono, Blaze or Desmond. I'm thinking it's Desmond because Blaze could use the red shirt. Van Ness, Casack, Duke taking the red shirt. So Casack's at 57. Mesenbrink, Henkel, Welsh, Barr, Cole Mirasola until I'm blue in the face. That's my lineup prediction. Oh, well, that's not, what am I whining about? I'm just talking about the lineup, unless I don't know what I'm talking. Gosh. What else do we got? Any other questions? Let's see. Wrestling will never be mainstream as long as they have such inconsistent refs. Can't be the one guy sees stalling and another doesn't. You need a passivity clock. You need you just need incentives to force action. So or just be more aggressive calling stalling. I'm not entirely sure. A 4-point takedown, even still, that's still going to go to sudden victory. Because you don't want to be the one that for Mitchell Mesenbrink, hey, that's great. For Jax Forrest, hey, that's great. But for anybody else, I don't know. That's going to be tough. So 4-point takedown. Let's see. Drayshawn Ross I think Drayshawn Ross is going to need some time to get adjusted as well. But that's, once he settles in at heavyweight, he will be a title contender. But for what it's worth, Cole has beaten him on the freestyle circuit. So Drayshawn is one of those intriguing prospects for Oklahoma State. He'll be the starter next year, but I don't think he's a title contender until, maybe year 2. It's kind of same thing as Cole. It's going to be time. It's going to take time for him to get situated. Listen back to when your team put up 180. That's how I started the show. I'm confused. I still got to give analysis. I still got to criticize where I started with that. I led with that. The 4 guys that won the championships, we're an hour deep into the live stream. Jeez. 4-point takedown, but only in the first period. Again, you're still going to get a situation where nobody takes a shot. What's the point? It's 0-0 at the end of the day. There was one comment that I had that I wanted to pull up. Braden Davis. Is Davis entering the portal next year? He did place 5th the previous year. He's got talent. All those things are factually true. Well, not the portal part. So I don't have any inside information on this. I think Davis stays at Penn State. I don't see why he'd want to transfer out. He placed 5th at NCAAs, right? I think he got a bad draw at 141. He was not supposed to wrestle this season. 141 is not his natural weight class. So you can see why they weren't ready to throw Desmond out there, because he came in at 125 and he was supposed to be Lilledahl's backup and then moved up to 141. So in Davis's case, here's how this is the progression that I see for Davis. I see Davis redshirting next season, and then he'll stay redshirting next season because you need depth, and he still has the red shirt. Yes, that is confirmed. There's no debate on that. It's confirmed that he can use the red shirt. He'll use the red shirt next season, and then the following year, he will be the guy at 149 after Van Ness leaves. So there you have it. Now, how will Davis do at 149? I don't know, to be determined. And I think I see that people already mentioned Shepard coming in. He was teammates with Marcus Blaze at Perrysburg in Ohio. So he's still in high school. He's class of 2027, and he's insanely good. But if you're Davis, you don't want to leave the best program in NCAA wrestling. Why would you want to willingly leave? I understand the criticism's justified with, how he might act is, is his maturity level going to be good enough? It's not really a good reflection of Penn State wrestling. I'm not really here to debate that at right now. I don't agree with it, and I don't want to give it a pass. I don't, but if you give him a right, I'm not ready for Penn State to just kick somebody to the curb and say, you're done, get out of here. I do think Davis needs some reflection time. I also think that Davis got a bad draw. He placed 5th at NCAAs last year at 133. That's still really good. That doesn't happen by accident. But is he up to the standard of everybody else where it's like you're a title contender kind of guy? No, he's not. But a red shirt, let him go up to 149 and then give him a chance to compete. You don't pencil him into 149 because Shepard will come in. What if Mangano wants the spot? He would be a true freshman at that point in time. He's a top 15 pound for pound recruit in the class of 2027. So Davis would have competition, but as a redshirt senior, that would be his final year of eligibility, right? I can see Davis in the lineup in 2020. So that would be 2027, 28, right? Yeah, that would be 27, 28 as a redshirt senior at 149 after Shane Van Ness for one season. I thought Shepard went to, no, where does he go? Am I mistaking him for somebody else? Oh, you're right. He does go to Crown Point. Why did I think, who am I thinking of that goes to Perrysburg? Oh, I'm thinking of Gray Burnett. Whoops. I'm thinking of Gray Burnett. Gray Burnett is at Perrysburg. Nope, you're right. But Shepard's really good. Shepard could be the guy at 149 that season. Nothing's guaranteed for Davis. I'm not here to advocate for Davis or to say a good point about that. So now I have that. Yeah, I'm thinking, oh, that's Blaze's former teammate. No, it's Gray Burnett who's Blaze's former teammate here. But Shepard could be the guy at 149. I think Davis should get a fair chance, get a red shirt, and then go up to 140 and be a guy that's available at 149. And here's the thing though, actually, with wrestling transfer portal rules, if he doesn't win the spot, transfer that year, at that point in time. Oklahoma State just did that. They brought in a ton of guys from the portal, a ton of recruits, and Jax Forrest, Sergio Vega, Landon Robidoux, D. Lockett pushed them all out. All those guys. Cam Steed at Missouri. Where do you think he was from originally? He was at Oklahoma State. Richie Figueroa was supposed to go in at 133. They pushed him out for Jax Forrest. Who else was there? Carter Young. Carter Young was supposed to go in at 149. Casey Swiderski beat him for the spot. And Landon Robidoux was at 157. Pushed him out. He went to Maryland. You can actually do that and transfer in the middle of the semester. So if Davis doesn't win the spot at 149, what you're going to see happen over the winter transfer portal window, because that's very weird to. I can't believe that you can transfer in the middle of the wrestling season, but since that's the academic calendar, they really can't stop it. Davis, if he wouldn't win the spot, in theory, would just leave and join another program for the final year of the season. So I think Davis got a bad draw this year. And Aaron Nagel, I mean, we're saying, man, circumstances really didn't benefit Braden Davis. Aaron Nagel, his shoulder's messed up and he can't wrestle anymore. That's another thing in the season that I think kind of gets, let's think about that for a moment. That I feel so bad for someone like Aaron Nagel, who's down to earth, who's, has a very strong background in his faith and everything. Like I've talked to him multiple times and he's just a very nice guy and down to earth and everything. And for him to have that shoulder injury and has to medically retire. I mean, he was supposed to be the guy at 141 this season. And Nagel, when he was at his best, was certainly a top 5, if healthy, no shoulder, upper body. Like the shoulder was bad. The shoulder required multiple surgeries. It was rough for Nagel. And now Nagel's at a point where he's never going to be able to wrestle again. And that's something that happened this season that we shouldn't really forget about. The gal was supposed to be the guy, and he's never going to be able to wrestle again. He would have been he would have placed if he was fully healthy, no shoulder issues. He would have placed at 141 this year. I don't know where. Probably I would probably say maybe he probably could have taken fifth in this season, right? 141 was still, Jesse Mendez, Sergio Vega, Anthony Echemendia, Brock Hardy, Luke Stanich. I would say I would take those five. I would take those five over him. So 6th, 7th, 8th place. So yeah, he probably could have gotten to the 5th place bout, and then he would have had to probably upset somebody or beat somebody that's usually better than him, or he would have won 7th place. I think at that point. So top 8, he would have been All-American. Best case scenario. Desmond, I don't know about Desmond, to be honest. If Desmond is not a true 141 pounder, probably blood round best case scenario for Desmond, because he's probably not beating Mendez. Definitely not. I mean, Vega beat Mendez, so he's not beating Mendez or Vega. Echemendia would have been tough. Brock Hardy would have been tough. Luke Stanich, Vinny Cornella, but he could probably beat Nasir Bailey. It's a top 7 guy. CJ Composto. See, that's a veteran All-American. That wouldn't have done any favors for Desmond to throw him out there like that. What do I think of Sam Beckett? I don't really have an opinion of him because I know Sam Beckett's on the team. I forget what I think he graduates this year. I know that he was a graduate senior. I don't really have an opinion of him since I've never spoken to him, and he wasn't in the starting lineup much, so we didn't really get to talk to him as much. I imagine he's a great guy. I know that he was Sam Beckett was talked about. I mean, Jeff Byers talked about him a lot as just, one of those glue guys in the room. He wouldn't be in the program if Cael didn't like him. So that kind of tells you all that you need to know. But unfortunately, I don't have an answer about him. Yeah, don't give up on Braden Davis just yet. I think he could very well be a starter in 2 years' time. Do not discount Cole. Do not discount Cole. There are people out there that think that Marcus Blaze to see the comments on social media, because I know that not everybody follows wrestling like this. Do not compare Marcus Blaze to Bo Bartlett. Please do not do that. That is the furthest from the truth. Marcus Blaze was the number 2 overall recruit behind PJ Duke. I just think Blaze has a lot. I do think Blaze has a lot to learn, and I think a redshirt season would benefit him a ton. He was the best option at 133 this season. That's just the fact of the matter for Penn State. Best 133 pounder, but still has room to get better, right? Same thing with Cole. Cole was their best heavyweight option. Clearly still has room to get better. Happens. The standard's the standard, man. But yeah, Blaze is special. Blaze is special. What are my thoughts on Elijah Brown? I need to watch more of his matches. I hope I get to see him maybe with like a U17, or I don't know how old he is exactly, but I hope to see him, go through U20s for freestyle. He'll be a much needed depth piece, because Penn State really doesn't have any options at heavyweight. If Cole were to, right, I don't want to speak it into existence, but you need depth. They don't have that at 125 right now. 133 and 141, they're loaded up. Shane Van Ness is the guy at 149. You're loaded at the middleweights, 57, 65, 74. You got Asher Cunningham. You got Connor Mirasola, right? They're set basically everywhere else except for the opposite ends of the lineup with lightweight and heavyweight. So Elijah Brown will be much needed early on, and then he can start the development process, right? He can grow into the heavyweight frame. So Cole will be the 4-year starter for the foreseeable future, and then Elijah Brown, he'll take the red shirt, and then he'll be most likely a 2-year starter for Penn State. So that's what I think right now. Those are my initial thoughts on Elijah Brown. When Jeff's schedule opens up, absolutely. If it's not next week, probably the week after. Jeff's coming back in from Cleveland, but he'll be back on the show before we know it. Absolutely. Where does Casack fit into the lineup next year? 157 or 160, anywhere, 57, 65, 74, whichever spot opens up, that's best. Because I think that Cael could handle it, right? I don't know what he's done with the redshirt season as far as does he move up to 174 and that's what he used this redshirt season? Or is it just because he lost to PJ Duke and PJ was the better wrestler and now PJ goes on the red shirt, right? That's the juggling act that Cael's doing with the lineup, where you can't start everybody. So you need you need one title contender to take a red shirt, and then you need another title contender to take a red shirt. Cael will be, he'll probably go in at 57, if I'm being honest. Mitchell will stay at 65, and then William Henkel's at 74. That's what that's other conversations with people that follow the program closely. That's what we all kind of think will happen. Yes, Henkel will be an NCAA title contender next year. There are lofty aspirations for him to come in right away and compete. That's why I'm ready. That's why I'm ready to just throw him in the lineup and say, yeah, he's the guy at 74. And it's just how timing works out. But I want, Jaden James comes in at 165, and it's like, what if he bulks up and tries to compete for the spot? I wouldn't put it past, right? But Henkel would be the guy at 174, and he would be a title contender. Yeah, we agree. Yeah, he would be an NCAA title contender. I mean, Cunningham, he would be an All-America guy. I mean, 184 is just loaded. It's top heavy, right? Rocco Welsh, Angelo Ferrari, Aiden Sinclair, Max McAnally. Brock Mantanona is only going to get better. Dylan Fishback comes back for another year. So basically you lose Silas Allred out of this group. I have no answers at 184 for next season. Angelo Ferrari was banged up this year. I get it. The stalling, the dropping to a knee. I get all that, but he's still a title contender, right? If I'm just kind of, speaking transparently, as we get here later. So you're going to get more just honest, unfiltered opinions about things too. I'm doing this because it's a special end of the season live stream. I still have 300 of you here. So I'll keep taking questions and comments for a little bit more. And I'd be fine with that. I think Jaden James can redshirt, and that would be just fine. I look at 184. That class gets better. Welsh, Ferrari, Sinclair, McAnally, Mantanona, Eddie Knightenbach returns. He's a good wrestler. I'll tell you this about NCAAs. Well, look at all these double-digit seeds making it through the bracket. And it's like, yeah, because you have somebody from Franklin and Marshall who hasn't wrestled a soul all season long as a 4 seed. Why do you have somebody from SIU Edwardsville, because he went undefeated in his conference, up until his conference tournament, and you have him as a 6 seed. And it's like, look at this upset. Do you notice the common theme about all of this? The Big Ten was 95% of those upsets. That was 95% of the upsets at the NCAA tournament were Big Ten wrestlers that were way underseeded because they went through a gauntlet all season long, and then it's smooth sailing for all the EIWA wrestlers. And I mean that with all due respect. I do, because I know Lehigh's there and Lehigh wrestles tough. So basically Lehigh's the exception there. But seriously, you have wrestlers that what did they prove throughout the year? And you're going to dock somebody else because they're wrestling title contender after title contender after title contender within its own conference. And they go in with a record of like 17-6. And it's like, oh, would you look at that? He's in the semifinal as a 14 seed. How did he get here? Oh, because he lost to the guys that are all also in the semifinals. It was the Big Ten. It's not even close. It's just Oklahoma State. How did Iowa State do? Did Iowa State even place top? How did the Big 12 do at NCAAs? Because last time I checked, Penn State, Big 10. Oklahoma State, Big 12. Nebraska, Big 10. Iowa, Big 10. Ohio State, Big 10. Stanford, first non-Big 10 school after Oklahoma State's not a big, they're Oklahoma State. I don't consider them a big, they're a Big 12 school. Stanford, ACC. That's an ACC school now, everybody. Michigan, Big 10. And then Iowa State. Iowa State is the next Big 12 school that was ranked there. The top 10, 7 Big 10 schools, or yes, maybe my math's wrong. 6 Big 10 schools, 2 Big 12, 2 ACC. Big 10's the best conference. Not a single EIWA school. Not a single one. Comments jumped. I saw there were a lot of good ones that I wanted to respond to. Yeah. I cannot wait for Ono to be out there at whatever it is. 125, 133. I can't wait. Who is this guy? Hutcherson. This probably because I haven't been keeping up with wrestling recruiting too much. Oh, well, he's in the class. Yeah, I remember this kid. I remember him. Mario Hutcherson. Is that who we're talking about? Yeah, I remember him. He's good. He's good, but he's class of 2028. We're really talking about the future. He just won a Pennsylvania State title. So shout out to him. If he were to commit to Penn State, that would be, I could see that. I've seen him on social media. Rocco Welsh was disappointing. I mean, he took second. We can be critical of him, don't get me wrong, but that's if he got tacked or majored at some point. I mean, he beat Angelo Ferrari 2 times, both times. He won a Big 10 title. What was disappointing? I get, but I am disappointed in the result, but I'm not going to look back on this season and say, man, Rocco Welsh really just stunk. I wish that. How did Zach Ryder do? That was the other option at 84 this season. How did Zach Ryder do for how did Zach Ryder do for Oklahoma State? Did he get on the podium? Zach Ryder, how did he do? Yep. Okay. And wow, the first headline that pops up: Zach Ryder fights through shoulder injury to earn All-America status. Okay, so that's a real. Okay, so before I dunk on Zach Ryder, but do you see my point here? Is Rocco Welsh finished second place and was number 1 all season. If he had lost to Angelo Ferrari both times, loses to Max McAnally, say he loses, he splits with Ferrari and then loses to McAnally both times, that would be a little more disappointing. The result, the championship result. So maybe that's what you're saying at the end, right? It's a live chat comment. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but Rocco Welsh it comes right in and he made 184 better for Penn State. They were either going to go with Zach Ryder or maybe Asher Cunningham, and either of those guys aren't title contenders. It's good to see Zach Ryder on the podium, especially if he was dealing with a shoulder injury. That's just the same thing with Gabe Arnold. Like Gabe Arnold is, because of the things that he said about Carter Starachi and Iowa beating Penn State and all that stuff. It's easy to dunk on Gabe Arnold, but he just went up to 197. You talk about he's a 174 pounder and he went all the way to 197 and he placed as an All-American. You just got to give credit where credit's due. Absolutely. Absolutely incredible stuff for both Ryder and Arnold there. I think they had, you got to, and Arnold certainly was, definitely got some pressure. I could see it when he won the 7th place. I think it was the 7th place bout. You could just kind of see like this pressure leave him. Like he put on a lot of personal pressure he was kicked off the team at one point in time. So good for Arnold. Good for Ryder. Penn State still wins at 185. Apparently, I'm not talking about that enough. That Penn State, that even though I led with that, I'm not talking about it enough. Because then the show gets stale, right? I want to know what everybody else has to think. Okay. There we go. Here's another good one. If Ono goes to 125, you redshirt Blaze, Duke, Luke, then who fills? Okay, so we're redshirting all three of them. Ooh. I guess that would be crazy. I don't know. I don't know what, and I don't think Penn State would do this. That would be a real type of gamble for Penn State to have Ono go at 25. You would probably have Desmond go at 33 and then Davis go again at 41. That is certainly not that's probably not the route that you want to go if you're Penn State. Desmond's really good. And I think Desmond actually would be, I think he would be best right now at 33. I think 141 is still more of a push for him, right? He's bulking to get to that weight class. I think Desmond would actually be at his best at 33. So I guess in theory, that's a possibility. But I like Luke, Ono, or Ono and Luke, whichever order you want to go in. I like having Luke and Ono at the front. He just won an NCAA title. That's hard for me to say, you should probably redshirt Luke just for fun. I don't see that happening. And I really do think Davis needs the redshirt, but I guess in theory it could work. Ono at 25, that's a title contender. Desmond at 33 is a title contender, even though I think that's like, okay, Forrest would still probably be there, maybe. Seidel, Divino. Does that really change much, right? I think Ono gives you the most leverage there at 33, or Lilledahl, honestly. One of those two at 33 gives you kind of the most leverage if you're Penn State, as opposed to Blaze and Desmond for 33 for next season, if that's still the power. If that's still the power dynamic of Forrest, Seidel, and Divino. Ono, I think, gives you the best chance there. Oh yeah, if we're talking recruiting, don't forget about Teague Sanderson. Cael Sanderson's son, for anybody that doesn't know. But I think he's a silent Penn State. If we want to talk about any silent Penn State commits, it very well might be Teague Sanderson. Yeah, Rocco was great this season. Second place, first year in the starting lineup for Penn. He elevated 184. I don't think Zach Ryder gives you that. I don't think Zach Ryder gave you that. Rocco can't take down elite guys. He can't even get to their legs. He was still winning at the end of the day. I need to see more aggression. I thought that Welsh could have had a takedown there at the end. He had McAnally scrambling around the mat, and McAnally was turned around. And I thought, man, if he just, it truly is a mindset thing, because I thought there were opportunities where Welsh, McAnally was fending off a reattack, and I think I have the sequence right. Maybe I'm not sure how it developed, but basically, he was trying to get away from Welsh, and Welsh finally got to the ankle, and he gave it up because he didn't like it. And it's like, okay, it's easy for me to say this when I'm sitting in my office chair and you're the wrestler, the guy who's actually out there competing. But that was the best opportunity you were going to get all match, and you gave up your best spot. Why did you give that? You were never going to get to the ankle again. Why did you give that up? Well, he didn't like it. That wasn't a great shot attempt. It was the best thing you were going to get. So for Welsh, he's good at offense. He's much better than I think people give him credit for, including myself at times. I was definitely critical over the course of the postseason there. But for Welsh overall, I don't think he's bad on offense. I just don't think he commits to enough shot attempts. If I'm being honest, I just don't think he's as confident in his offense as he can be, as he should be. It's a confidence. It's not a skill issue. It's a mindset issue. Yeah, we'll give credit where credit's due. Shout out to Gabe Arnold. Yeah, the recruiting class. Notice how it'll go in cycles, because the 2026 recruiting class for Penn State is again, Jaden James and Sam Herring and Elijah Brown. all insanely talented, elite potential. That's not what I'm trying to dismiss. But if you compare it to everybody else, they have 3 commits. They have 3 commits compared to what Oklahoma State's bringing in 6. So that's double. And it goes back to what I said about the cycles of how Penn State and Oklahoma State are basically going to trade every 2 years because you can load up. So Penn State loaded up in 24 and 25. They took a step back in 23, but they loaded up in 24 and 25. They took a break in 26. Oklahoma State doubled up in 26. They practically tripled up in 26, as you can tell. And then in 27, they're doing the same thing. Penn State is going to do 27 and 28, and Oklahoma State's going to take the year off in 28. So that's it's going to flip flop every 2 years. Basically, it's like if you want to, I wish I had like a one-liner in astrology or something about how the stars will align or whatever. I don't really have. I'm running out of steam here, guys. But I want to keep going. You know, this is the end of the season, right? So Landon Seiden, Clinton Shepard, and Gray Burnett, that class, that your lightweights are taking it. Landon Seiden's a 4-year starter at 125. Gray Burnett's a guy that can be 133, 141. Shepard's a 149, 57 guy. Mangano's in that too. Don't forget about Gavin Mangano. He's in there as well. That's KD. I think that's KD. KD sends another one over to Penn State. Who else is in that class? Is that it? Is that right? I thought Penn State had more commits than that. I thought there was maybe one other. Let me see if they have anybody. Oh yeah. Braden Weaver, Pennsylvania kid. Yep. He's coming in. He'd be a lightweight. And William Soto's in there too. Yep, Mangano, Seiden, Burnett, Shepard. Yeah, that's 27's a fun class. Cael's getting superstars and depth as well for 2027. I guess technically he did. Then I want PJ Duke in the championship. Then I will gladly sacrifice Rocco Welsh's Big Ten title for PJ Duke's NCAA would-be title. I will make that trade 100%. So if we're saying that Max McAnally got a takedown against Rocco in the Big Ten championship, then I am absolutely, then I want my refund on PJ Duke and Landon Robidoux. Let's see here. There's no way. Okay. So there's no way that Ono can go 125 in college. It would be tough. I know he deals with kidney issues that's been reported. That's on the record. That's not me saying that. But Ono said in interviews that he could go 57, 61, or 65 kilos. So that's the equivalent of 125, 133, or 141. Maybe that's just Ono saying that he's a tough wrestler, but yeah, he wrestled and won a world title at 33. That's why I expect him to go at 133. I'm just I'm spitballing, guys. I'm just throwing things out there. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. But yes, Ono going down to 125 would be tough. I do acknowledge that. Yeah, Ono's going to go 133. Ono is wrestling heavyweight. Yes, Ono will be the heavyweight next year. And Cole, I don't know what Cole would do. I guess he would get benched. Gavin Mangano. Oh, sure. Why not? Penn State is on how many? Let's see the dual meet win streak. I forgot the number that it's at. 87. Penn State wrestling dual meet win streak. 85. Okay. So I'm a little further ahead and they'll keep going. They're still, so I think they've broken every single one of those dual meet streaks across all of college wrestling. So Division I, Division II, Division III. JUCO, and then I think they're still after the NAIA record, which would be, I think when I saw it, it was something like 117. So they still got a ways to go with the win streak, but who's going to break it next year? Not Ohio State, Michigan, Nebraska, right? That's that streak's going to continue for a little bit. I would say the next 2 seasons, Penn State has 9 starters, give or take, right? Because it's going to look different. They have 9 starting caliber wrestler. They lose one. Let's put it this way: they lose 1 starter. They lose Levi Haines, and then they lose after that. They lose 2 starters the following year, which are two really good ones, right? Mitchell Mesenbrink. You don't want to lose Mitchell Mesenbrink, and Shane Van Ness. Shane Van Ness is a title contender. You don't want to lose those guys. But they have answers at 65. I'm not sure ultimately what they do at 49, because again, Davis, if he stays and bulks, he would be an option. And then you hope that Shepard or Mangano can come in and push for that spot as well. They would probably get to 100 if they wrestle, because they typically wrestle 14 to 15 dual meets. So I would say they're either going to get to 99 or 100, and then the year after. So it would take them, if my math is correct, they wrestle average 15 dual meets per year. So they would get to 100, and then they would get to 115, and the record is 117. It's reasonable to think that I think it's 117. I gotta look that one up. I don't doubt Cael. Why would I doubt Cael? They can always go to the portal too. They're nothing set in stone as far as, and who wouldn't want to compete at Penn State if they don't think Davis, or if they don't like the true freshman that they bring in at 149 that year, they can always go to the portal. They're also after the shutout streak. The shutout streak. Which one's that? I'm not familiar with that one. I'm not familiar with the shutout streak. So yeah, they're at, I know they're at 85. We know that much. And they're not going to lose anytime soon. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you. I wouldn't do these streams if it wasn't for all of you hanging out here late on a Saturday night. So I think we're getting close to midnight, right? I want this to be a Saturday night stream. So I think I've answered. We got a lot of good questions answered. We got a lot of good debates going about Oklahoma State, future lineup, what the teams look like across the board next year. It's really just, it's Penn State and Oklahoma State and everybody else. Forrest and Vega and all the Robidoux is going to get better. D Lockett's going to get better. They're getting a couple impressive freshmen like Drayshawn Ross. The Rainey twins are coming in. Like that is a lineup that's being built. Eventually they're going to have 8-9 title contenders, whether they're fringe or not. Rainey twins, those guys can be title contenders. Drayshawn Ross eventually will be a title contender. Penn State has that right now. In due time, Oklahoma State's getting there. So, hey, I want to wrap it there. Don't worry. Just because the wrestling season's over does not mean Penn State wrestling coverage stops. Portal's going to be coming up soon, right? Are there any surprises, whether it's Penn State related or not? I think if Iowa lands a big transfer, Nebraska, like, we got to talk about it, right? So Penn State football picks up this week. If you double up and you're a Penn State wrestling and you're a football fan, hey, guess what? We're going to be right back into the thick of it with football. We're still going to be doing recaps about the season. We got to talk to Jeff Byers. I'm hoping to get Justin Bash back on the show. If you know Nick Costco from On3, love to get some of these other stars back on the show to get their thoughts on the offseason and what's to come for Penn State and Oklahoma State and all that good stuff. So, hey, thank you so much for being here. It has been one heck of a season. Penn State breaks the records again with 181.5 points, 4 champions, 6 finalists, and a chance to do it all again and then some next season. Records, accolades, streaks, all on the table again, once again next year. Penn State is not rebuilding. They are more than reloading going into next year, but at least there's some fun in it. Oklahoma State makes this even more fun. Thank you. I really do mean it. Thank you for a great season, for the coverage that we did all the way from the start of the season to now, being here for the live streams, the watch parties, for all the regular daily podcasts. Really, I mean it a ton. This show wouldn't be what it is without all of you in the audience. So thank you. But we're going to have more coverage on the way, whether it's wrestling, football, you name it, here on Locked On Nittany Lions. So subscribe if you are new. Subscribe if you are new to the channel, because we do this daily. Thank you. I'll talk to you all again very soon here on Locked On Nittany Lions.